Hello everybody, Glenn Denman here, working on the bus again today, and I'm having a great time with it because working on the bus is fun. Besides, I'm getting now to the point where I have lights and all kinds of good stuff going on. So I've got some LED light strips up under here. I use the LED cob lights, which is it's like a continuous LED strip here. Anyway, I just got these from Amazon. And so it's basically like this. It's just a continuous strip, has a bunch of little tiny LEDs inside it, but the material that combines them causes it to look like all one continuous light. So then I also put in these little channels here with the light diffusers, which I also got on Amazon, that are basically crap. Anyway, because you have to get this thing to even stay in there, you have to squeeze the sides down because the plastic's too small. And anyway, but whatever. But I'm making it work. So I've got that up under here. As you can see, is lit up. Of course, it's broad daylight, but it does light up the bus. And I'll have the same thing over on this side eventually. And I've got my little light on here and my fans working and that kind of thing. And these lights up under here. And then I've got my flooring down in the kitchen here also. As you can see there, I've just got cardboard on the floor in the bathroom because that's where I've been walking through. I'll probably put something here for now, either a throw rug or cardboard or something like that. But anyway, this video is to finish up the video on the electric stuff. And I've made some footage. I didn't really do much footage on actually assembling the stuff in the bay. I kind of wish I would have, but it was just so drawn out over such a long period of time that I just didn't do it. It was just too much trouble. Anyway, so I thought I'd just show progress here. So I've got things working, got my system here in. What I'm doing here right now is my individual batteries. I finally got it to where I can figure out how to connect my phone through Bluetooth with each of the 8 batteries. And so a couple of the batteries have a little higher voltage than the rest of them. So what I'm doing here is I'm draining them down so that I can get them down to a level where they're all lower than that voltage, and then hopefully when they charge back up, they'll all even out again. So anyway, that was the conclusion I came to through researching that. So I've got the solar panels shut off. I've got the heat on. I've actually got the mini split running on heat right now, and it's drawing 640 watts. Of course, the panels aren't putting out anything because I have them shut off, but a few minutes ago I had it to where I was drawing 1200 watts up here. My panels are putting out 1500 watts, and it's only about 9:30 in the morning. And so the panels are working really well. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of do a little test here and see how long it takes to draw these batteries down quite a ways. I don't know how far down I'll go, but I'm gonna just run these down, and then I'll hook turn the solar panels back on, see what it takes to charge it back up. In the meantime, hopefully it'll even out those voltages from each individual battery. So anyway, so that's the video today. The video today is mostly on part of the installation, kind of finishing up the installation. And now I'm at a point to where everything functions, and it functions well. I think my last portion of this video, I wasn't quite there yet. But I'm there now, and it looks really good. It's basically the whole Victron system that I have here running for the bus. So anyway, also I just wanted to point out too that I got this shirt. Somebody at work, I found this shirt in my inbox. It was brand new in the package. And anyway, so somebody ordered this thing for me, and it's much appreciated. It says, "I love bus stuff." And I certainly do love bus stuff. So anyway, so I hope this video helps you guys out, and it certainly was an experience for me. And I'm not sure how many more videos I'm going to make for the bus. I'll probably do one on the ceiling finishes and the wall finishes, carpet, and then probably maybe one going on a trip or something for the first time. After that, I probably won't do any more videos, but it's been a great experience. Now I'll probably do one on a video just on general the general concept of converting a bus, because I think that's an important video that could be done. So anyway, hope everybody enjoys it. Take care and God bless. Hi, my name's Glenn. This is Karen, my wife, and this is our bus. Hello, Glenn Damon here, working on the bus again today. And of course, what else would I be doing but working on the bus? Working on the bus is great. It's a lot of fun. And it's getting to the point here to where I'm nearing completion of my systems. I still have things like wall coverings to put on, ceiling coverings, things like that. I've got some of my lighting in here, so you can see up under the cabinet here. Well, maybe you can't see, but anyway, I've got some lighting in. Got this cute little light here in over the dining room table and things like that. So I haven't done much for the lighting in here, although I have all my 110 volt stuff in. And so what I'm gonna do in today's video, my last video I showed where I had just purchased all the stuff for my electrical system from AM Solar down in actually Springfield, Oregon. They're close to Eugene. I was in Eugene, Oregon already, and so I took a quick jump over to Springfield. Of course, they knew I was coming, and they put my whole kit together, and they also included the design of the system. And I'll just kind of show, I don't know if you'll be able to see it very well here, but so it included the whole design of the system here, which is which is about a 16-page deal. But the main page that I've been referring to is this one here that shows the overall installation of it. And this was specifically designed according to what I had here or what I wanted here. So they designed it for me, and that was part of the purchase of the whole system from them. So it's pretty much all Victron equipment. This shows only 4 batteries. I plan on having 8 batteries, so I've got 4 more on the way, and they'll be here in a couple of days. And so once I get those in, I can hook those batteries up, and by the time that happens, this whole system will be pretty much complete. So what I thought I'd show today is pretty much an overview of the entire system that I did install. And I've been working on it for about a month and a half since March 6th, and now it's like April 23rd or something like that. So it's been a month and a half, but not obviously working every day on it because I have a full-time job and things like that. But I put a lot of time into it, a lot of evenings, a lot of weekends, and I didn't do any videotaping of the system yet, but I'll do that today. And only because it takes so long to track the videos, and the whole project was split up in so many different time frames, evenings, weekends, hour here, hour there. It just doesn't make sense to try to videotape all that stuff. But I think I have a pretty good, I'm at a pretty good point now to where I can show a video of the whole system, and because it's almost complete. It's not quite complete, but it's almost complete. So I'm going to go ahead and show that, and then I'm going to also show how I crimped some of my 4-aught wire and stuff like that. Of course, I have other wire too, 2-aught. I've got 2-gauge wire, 6-gauge wire, all that kind of stuff. So I'll go ahead and give an overview of the system where it is now. So appreciate everybody watching. We'll see how that goes. Okay, so I'm down here in the bay, and what I call my power bay. So this bay here it'll have all the 8 batteries wired in a 24-volt system. So every 2 batteries will be a series together, and then those will be in pairs in sets of 2. And so so I haven't got the batteries hooked up yet, but I do have the 110 volt hooked up, and I've got a shoreline hooked up and things like that, and I've been using it. So I'll go ahead and just show kind of where I'm at with that. So this is the whole bay. Matter of fact, I'm going to open the other side too, gives a little bit more light. That way you can see the whole thing better. Matter of fact, I'll just start on this side anyway. So I've got my shore power cable here, which is a 6-gauge cable, goes into my plug. It's a 50 amp system, and so that cable comes in here, and I went ahead and looped it around here a little bit just so I'd have some extra cable in case I screwed something up. I can cut it off and redo it again. So I've got all these connections in here pretty much complete, and these are my battery connections. The main battery connection comes in. I've got the or actually technically comes out. I've got the positive here and the negative here, and then of course I have all these wires connected up here. This wire here, which is the same wire as my incoming cord, so that goes up into my electrical panel here, which is this box here. And so I've got my breakers in. I don't have them labeled yet. I've actually got them labeled on a piece of plywood for now, so I just need to wait until I kind of finish, make sure each one gets labeled correctly. And I've had this on, so the main power comes in 50 amps here, that jumps over to these breakers. I've got the 20 and 15 according to what my equipment is, my wiring is. And so I've got my multi plus 2 24 volt 3000 watt inverter, 70 amp, and I've got this little switch here. This switch will turn on my 24 to 12 volt converter. And so this panel here is made to mount inside of a wall. It's made for an RV. It's made to mount inside of a wall, and I didn't know that when I bought it. But so what I had to do is I had to kind of build this box for it. So I built this wooden box. And so what I can do here is I can take the face off. I can take these 2 screws here off and pull this piece out, and I can modify things inside or whatever, put that back on. And then this little monitoring doohickey here, I guess it's kind of like a dongle or whatever they call it. So this I just mounted to an electrical box, a 4-inch or 5-inch or whatever it is, PVC electrical box. I cut the side off. I was able to mount that inside there, mount it onto this real nice. I can pretty easily get wire in and out of this panel after the fact. I still have some wire ties and stuff to put on here, but so this is my 12 volt panel here. It'll have all the respective fuses in here. I've got it mostly labeled again on my plywood here. So anyway, so I've got it on here for now, and so I need to label all that. So some of the things that I did here was I clocked. When I say clocked, I took like this 4/0 cable, and when I crimped this lug on here, I crimped it so that the flat side is on the back side, and then as it comes down, this one is on the front side, so that way the cable itself is a little bit tighter to the wall. Same thing with over here. So this is actually clocked the opposite. This one here is clocked so that the flat side is on the far side because of the way it hooks into the switch. This one is clocked to the front side just so that way it's just more low profile here. And so some of the crimping of the cable ends and lugs, you just gotta watch how you're clocking that. So so this is my Servo GX. So this monitors the system, and up above the floor in the kitchen I have a touch screen, which I'll show in a few minutes. And these manifolds here, they didn't come with the kit, but I went ahead and just bought these. But wherever, I don't have my main battery into here yet, but wherever I have a 4/0 cable coming in, I'll also connect my next 4/0 cable to the same lug, just to make sure that I'm not losing any juice through the manifold, because I don't really know how much juice the manifold actually carries. Maybe it's fine. Anyway, and then my smaller lugs, I've got like this one here. These aren't tight yet either. These all have to be torqued down because I'm taking them on and off so many times while I'm building the system. So, so whenever I have smaller wires, they tie in here. This one ties in here. This just goes to the 12 volt converter and powers that. That way my big wires are tied closer together than what they would be if they were going through the manifold. The same thing over here. I got my 4/0 here, 4/0 here. These are my negative connections. And again, none of this stuff is tightened down yet because I'm still adding stuff to it. So I don't want to tighten it down and take it back off, tighten it down, take it back off. So that'll be one project. We'll be just going through and torquing everything down. So I have yet to hook up my cable from my 24 volt to 12 volt converter here to go from here up to this connection here. I have the cable made, and I was waiting. I ran out of these little 6 gauge lugs, so I just got those, and I've got that cable fabricated now. I just have to put it on. And so this 40 amp and 42 volt DC breaker breaks for the 24 volt converter before it goes through the converter and then over, so that way I've got a breaker for it. I'll go ahead and talk about the rest of the stuff here on the other side. Okay, so I'm on the other side now, and so from here, like here I've got my cable made up here for the 24 volt to 12 volt converter. I just have to install it. And again, this cable is clocked. The fittings are clocked just right, so they connect really well. So if you're doing any of this stuff, you just got to make sure, especially with this big 4/0 cable, that you don't get your lug, twisted on there. It's hard to twist that back, and you don't want to have your wire to be under that kind of pressure anyway. So these cables here, they go from the servo to the solar charge controller and stuff. And anyway, so I've got these breakers here. Like this breaker here is for the solar charge controller, for this solar charge controller. This breaker is for this solar charge controller. And then I've got my negative cable coming along here. Everything ties into it here. The main reason I wanted to use this manifold is because the original drawing just had a single stud that all these wires would hook to. So you'd have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wires on one stud. So I decided to break that up into multiple studs, and that was really, I think, a good move. So so these breakers here, again, take care of the solar charge controller. Again, like here's some connections I haven't made yet because anyway, it's kind of a long story, but I'm making a few changes here. But so these wires here come all the way down from the roof of the bus. So they come over here, go across and go up to the roof through here, through this conduit. And again, I looped this around just so I'd have plenty of wire in case I need to move some stuff. I ended up moving these about 3 times. I kept moving them to the left, to the left, to the left, because I kept having to have more room down here and stuff. So I was glad that I had plenty of wire. And so one of the changes that I'm making here, I have this negative wire here. It's a 3/0 wire. Going from the and again, I still have to connect my negative batteries to this. So but this is going to the frame of the bus, because since I'm going to be charging off the bus, then I need to have it bonded to the bus for its negative. But the plan here originally was I've got the this battery combiner installed. It's a Victron Cyrix LICT solar combiner, and from what I understand is this puts so much juice into your lithium batteries that it could actually damage your alternator, because it's almost unlimited. If your lithium ion batteries are super low, this thing will pump easily 200 amps of juice into those batteries. And it's probably not a big deal if your batteries aren't low and it's just maintaining them, keeping them topped off. But if you were to run these down parked off grid or something, and then you fire up the bus, and this would put out so much juice that it could burn up your alternator. So anyway, that's what I hear. I don't know for sure. I'm still looking into it. But I'm thinking about removing this, changing this, and eventually putting in a DC to DC charger, battery to battery charger instead of this. So it'll be a Victron Energy 30 amp charger. So I'm going to do some redesigning here. This is probably going to go away. So and then one of the things I'm lacking here is I need to get my cat cable, I guess you call it, for here. Goes from here to my little monitor there. So that's about the only thing I'm lacking here, besides just I need to do a bunch of wire tying and stuff like that and get this buttoned up. So as far as this particular bus goes, I've got a full day just in getting this wire from the next bay over to here, because in between I've got my fuel tank and I've got my battery compartment. So I had to get the wire from that next bay down to the last bay down, so the wires could come from the roof up above into that bay, through the battery compartment, over the top of the fuel tank, and then finally into this bay. So that was quite a project, and I'll show you the route that I took with it. So now I'll show where it comes down from the top. So I've got this conduit in here, and this is 1.5 inches, I guess, conduit, and this comes from the roof down, or at least, well, behind the refrigerator. It's not conduit all the way, but it comes at least from behind the refrigerator into this conduit here, across to here, goes through. And again, if you had this bus, you would understand the problem here, because going from here just to the other side of this battery compartment was a huge chore, just because of all the stuff that's in this thing. Which I'll show here. So there's an inaccessible portion in here that you got to be really careful with, because there's a bunch of big giant cables and stuff. Again, this is the wire that's going to be charging the batteries from the bus, but I'm changing that now. So that conduit goes across the back of this compartment here, out one side, back into the other. Then it comes across, well, you can't see, but anyway, it goes all the way across above the fuel tank at the very back, and then it finally comes out right there where those wires are coming out. So what I'll show here is where the wires come down from the roof into above the refrigerator. And again, I don't have any of this stuff tied off yet. So the wires in the conduit come up here from behind the refrigerator, up the wall, and then into these two 50 amp breakers here. And because I have two systems, I have the rear panels and the front panels are each their own system. So one of these wires, this wire would be for the rear panels, solar panels that is. This wire is for the front solar panels. And again, I just put this in yesterday, and so I still have to tie these off and fasten them to the ceiling and stuff like that. So these wires go into a solar combiner box, which is mounted to the roof, and I'll go ahead and show that. Okay, so I'm up on the roof of the bus now. Got my solar panels up here. There's 5 panels here. There'll be one more right here. And then I've got my 4 panels back there. One of the things I need to do there is I need to trim off some of my hold down brackets, because they're actually overhanging onto the panels a little bit, but I have yet to do that. That was pointed out by Ivan LaCroix, actually, up in Canada. And so the rest of these, I don't have that problem. I've made them to where they're not quite as long, the way they overhang. So these are completely clear here. So once I put this panel on here, which is actually right there, I just picked it up this morning. You can see that. Anyway, so that panel will snap into these aluminum brackets here and fasten down to that, and this will be done. So for wiring support here, I just use this 1/2 inch conduit, and I've got all my wires tied to it. It gives it some good support. Got it supported in a couple of midpoints down through the roof, and anyway, and so the wires go into these combiner boxes. So basically what I have is 2 panels are wired in series, 2 panels in series, then those are then paired as they come together here in this box here, and I don't have this cover off yet, but anyway, but that's what it's doing. So these here I'll have 2, 2, and 2, and so that'll be 3 sets of 2. Again, 2 in series, and then they'll be paired up, and those all come and end up tying into this this combiner box here. And so this is one of the wires that go down through the ceiling above the refrigerator. So basically, so I still have yet to put this panel in, then it'll tie into these, and then the other panel tie all together into this system here. This is quite a system that AM Solar provides. Of course, I had to assemble this, you know, but yeah, this is their own custom wire. It's a gray sunlight resistant round 10 gauge cable, so it doesn't have a ground in it because it doesn't need it, but so it's just a 2 wire 10 gauge cable, and it works really well for up here on the roof. I still have yet to do some things to tie this kind of stuff here off, and but it goes into this is their own custom combiner box, or junction box if you will, that mounts to the roof. And so these are nice watertight sleeves here, connections here into the box. So this one has 3 coming into it because I've got 3 sets of 2. So this just kind of shows you a good idea of how this all looks. So when the wires come together inside, they have the heat shrink actual butt couplers, and then so those are heat shrinked on. Then you put a heat shrink over those, then you put this heat shrink on it, which covers the whole thing, and so it's completely heat shrinked in like 2 or 3 times over, and so it should be pretty watertight. And so this is just a good example here of the way this all looks, or will look. And so here I've got my my positive and negative, all my reds on this side, blacks on this side. What was nice here for connecting these big fat cables is that you can actually lift these out, connect the cables, and then push it down into place. And then after it was pushed down into place, then I went through and made my smaller connections here, and it really worked out nice. And then that lid goes on, makes for a nice watertight connection. This goes through the roof. Same thing with this one. This one is just mirror image to this one, and that way my 2 wires go through pretty close to each other down above the refrigerator. So just kind of look at what this looks like under here. So I've got my wires coming along. I've got my my cables again tied down with my little supports in the middle there, and I've literally just got those things glued down. If I have to put screws in them, I can, but they're glued down pretty good, and I don't think they're going to go anywhere anyway. So anyway, so that's kind of it up here on the roof. So what I thought I'd do is also, I picked up a really nice used crimper for crimping these lugs on. Works really well, and so I think I'll go ahead and show that next. Okay, so now I'm in the bus here, and I'm going to go ahead and just on the video here, I'm going to go ahead and crimp on a copper lug on my 4/0 wire. This is the remaining part of my wire that's going to go from battery to battery. It's a 4/0 cable, pretty huge, and I literally just I've been cutting this with just my various channel lock cutters, and obviously it doesn't cut it all at once. I've been just gouging my way through it, but it's been working out okay. It's not the cleanest cut in the world, but it works, and I can get all the strands into the copper lug for when I'm crimping, and so I'm going to just show that process here real quick. So I got these used crimpers from a guy at my church. It just so happened I was at a Bible study, and there was like 6 of us there, and what's the chances of finding one guy out of 6 that would have something like this. So I just mentioned to him, I said, hey, you wouldn't happen to know anybody that has a pair of crimpers that'll do big giant like 4/0 wire and stuff. He goes, yeah, as a matter of fact, I got a pair I'm going to sell. They weren't his, they were actually his brother-in-law's, I guess, and he was going to sell them for him. And so I got these for 30 bucks. I don't know what the brand is, but it's got this gauge on here for different wire sizes. Half of it's gone, so you can't really see. But it's really simple. All I've been doing is you just push this in, you spin this around for different selections. So there'd be like for your big 4/0 wire, and then you have to, you know, spin the other one around to its corresponding size. And so basically, I've even been crimping these little 2/0, or excuse me, not 2/0, but little 6 gauge connectors with the smallest setting here. So this has, anyway, there we go. So it has this small V here, and then the corresponding V here is a little bit clunky, is that small one there. So when you bring those together, actually that's not the smallest. There's one more smaller one. One of these must be on this side. There's one smaller one. There it goes. So it's got that real small, it's got a smaller side here than here. By the time you crimp that together, it makes for a pretty small little square, and it'll even crimp on those little tiny wires, little 6 gauge ones. So for what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna go back to my larger size. I think it's the biggest one, if I recall. It's either that or the next size over. But anyway, if you crimp it and it doesn't crimp just right, then you can just, or not tight enough, you can just flip it over to the next size down and do it again. So I'm going to just show what I've been doing there. So I've just been cutting this sheath off here to the right length, of course. I'll be doing this. I've got just enough here to do all my batteries to tie them in together, and to wire them into the system. So I'm going to have 2 batteries in series to make 24 volts, and then I'll have 4 sets of batteries, 4 sets of pairs. And so this heat shrink will actually fit on after the fact. So if you forget to put the heat shrink on first, which I do anyway, it'll actually fit over the whole thing. So, but I just like to do it anyway, just so it's not so hard to get on. So what you want to do here is you want to crimp this down pretty much as, you don't want to just crimp it way back and have a bunch of extra copper on there. So I've been just kind of sizing it up like this here, and then I just trim that off. Sometimes when you do it with the knife here, it will kind of cut a few of the little strands off, but for the most part, all the wire is going to be there. It's going to be plenty good. So I'll just go around it good. I don't like to go too hard to the copper, because I want to keep as many strands as possible. Otherwise, because they're pretty fine strands, and it will cut some of them off. So pull that off. So even though I had to gouge this through, there's a few strands that are coming off. Anyway, so even though I had to gouge this through with my just my channel lock cutters there, you know, a guy can get maybe some bolt cutters or something, or some better shear type cutters that would be better for that, but I'm not going to go buy a set just for this one project. So so I've been getting by. So that'll shove into there real carefully there to get as many strands as possible. Kind of spin it on. There it goes. So kind of spin that on. and it stops right up against the backside here just before it hits the rubber. So that's a pretty nice crimp there. Remember, if you're doing a short one or whatever, you got to make sure you clock these just right so that your next one is in line, or maybe it has to be at a 90 degree to this one or whatever. It doesn't matter here because I haven't even done anything with the rest of it yet. But what I'll do is I'll crimp this on, and then I'll cut my length here, which I think is going to be about, it's going to end up being about 12.5 inches or so, but I'll have to measure that up. And this is going to be one that'll tie two batteries together, so it's going to be negative to negative, and that's why I have the black colored heat shrink on it. And so those will be flat to each other, so they'll be in the same plane. So this is a little precarious here. So as a matter of fact, I think that setting I have it on is actually even larger yet. So you want to make sure that thing's all the way engaged in your copper there, and don't get your fingers in it. You can crimp that down. I can tell though it didn't really crimp it very far because that's for a larger setting. So I'll go ahead and switch this to the next size down. So that one there will actually have a smaller one go into a larger one. I think that's the size that it should be. It'd be easy to knock that off again, and then I probably wouldn't get it back on because it's partly crimped. But anyway, I think I'm in good shape there. Yeah, that's a good crimp. I didn't go all the way down. Just want to check it. So that's not bad. It's a little bit crooked there, but well, the rubber is. Anyway, so that makes a really nice crimp there, as you can see. And so then that will, the heat shrink will go over that. So that makes for a pretty nice crimp there. And now I'll go ahead and do the heat shrink up here. So I was actually able to borrow my son's hot air gun that he uses at work. It's his personal gun, and works really well for putting that heat shrink on. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. If I can get my camera to stand up here. See the way this is crimped here, it's got, you know, a little bit crooked. I should have tried to get it straighter on there. It's not really going to matter, but I'm usually a little bit more of a perfectionist than that. So it's got a little tilt to it, so I must have had it just a little crooked when I crimped it in there. But it's in all the way, I know that, and it's going to be fine. But the rest of them, I want to make sure that I get them all nice and straight, like I, you know, have on the rest of these here. So so I'm going to go ahead and slide that heat shrink up here on it, like so. I like to go just a little bit, kind of to about there, so it kind of just rolls over the edge just a little bit, but not too far, because I want to have plenty on the rubber part where the rubber meets the copper there, or where the rubber meets the road, I guess you might say. So I'll go ahead and heat shrink that on. And this heat shrink, when you do this, it'll has a little bit of glue that'll sort of squeeze out. You don't want to do it too fast all at once. I just kind of get it nice and warm all the way around. So you can see it kind of starting to shrink down. It's like it has these little knurls on the heat shrink plastic stuff. When those disappear is when you're really pretty much done. So it makes for a pretty nice end there. And what that really does is it not only seals the rubber to the copper, but it also just kind of gives it some strength there so that it doesn't, you know, bend very easy. And I don't know if you can see or not, but you can see this liquid sort of coming out of the edge here. It actually has a glue in it that just really seals it tight, right? Like this here, I actually could have slid it back this way just a little bit more and got a little more on the rubber, so it's like halfway on the copper, halfway on the rubber, but it's fine. It'll be just fine like that. This isn't going to be outdoors anyway. It's going to be inside the bay here, and so this one will connect across from negative to negative and stuff. So I'll have to make a bunch of these up, probably four of these, in order to get my 8 batteries tied together in parallel and series and stuff. And then I'll have some other ones that'll tie the 4 groups together. So I'll have to design all that up yet. So my other 4 batteries aren't here yet. They should be here tomorrow. And so once those batteries come in, then I can go ahead and get this whole thing finished up and get my batteries tied together. So one thing more I wanted to show you is I think I've pretty much got everything covered down here, except of course my DC to DC charger, which I haven't ordered yet. And I'll probably eliminate that battery combiner. But I do want to show my touch screen setup that I have up inside the bus here. And it's in kind of a funny place, and it's probably not where everybody would really want to have one, but I went ahead and put it right here. There's going to be a chair with a little desk thing here anyway, and so that way it's here. The reason it's here is because it's a relatively short run of wire where it comes up through the floor, and ideally it would have been better like maybe on this wall or something, but being that I didn't plan for any of that stuff, I'd have to get the wire behind here, and I wouldn't want it to. Anyway, I kind of wish I'd have had like this cabinet here all the way down, like create an end so that I could have put more stuff through that, maybe into the cabinet and down into the below, or anyway, but that isn't the case on this side. These cabinets kind of cut off the bottom half of the bus from the top half of the bus. But I thought this is a pretty good place. This will sync up with your phone via Bluetooth with your system here. So this is really just a secondary panel. You can do pretty much everything on your phone. And so it actually looks kind of cool there. I just hope it's not in a place where it can get bumped easy and stuff. Probably not, because it has this in front of it, but it'll just be something a guy will have to watch for. But that's pretty much the last component of the system. So I have the little digital readout down below, the little round 2-inch puck, and I've got my touch screen here. Looks fine, should work good, and should be in pretty good shape. So that's well, anyway, so the rest of this video I'll go ahead and make when I put the rest of the batteries together and have the whole system functioning. Okay, so I'm down in the bay here, and it's been about a week now since my last part of this video. So I'm down in here, and I've got all my crossover wires all built for the series and parallel. So basically the way it'll be is positive to negative. This becomes one 24-volt battery. Same thing down here, positive to negative, positive to negative, positive to negative. Then my 24s together will go negative to negative, positive to positive, and so forth on down. So I'm going to wire all those together. And what I had to do here, the reason it took me a week to even get to this point, is because the batteries all have to be topped off at least 14.4 volts before wiring them in series. So I topped each one off, which took about 3.5 hours per battery to get it to the 14.4. And then after you do that, you go through and you top them off one more time, which only takes about 10 minutes per battery, or not even that really, just to give it a extra, because when you top them off, they kind of go down a little bit, and then you top them off again, they come back up or whatever. So it's pretty much following my absorb charge, 14.5 volts, my float charge or float voltage is 13.8, and that's about where each battery is at. And so I'm just waiting for this last one here. More recording. Okay, so I've got them wired so that this is a 24 on down. And the part that drives me crazy is the curvature of the wire. When I made these, I wish I would have paid more attention to that, because I got this one curved this way, this one curved this way, this one curved the opposite way, then it goes back the other way again. And it's just the way the wire is curved. It's not the length of the wire. The length of the wires, all these wires are the exact same length. From what I understand is that with these batteries that have the built-in BMS battery monitoring system inside, they don't actually have to be the exact same length. But I've heard different opinions, and so I just went ahead and made them the same length anyway. So every one of these wires are the same length. So anyway, so now I'm going to finish hooking up the jumpers for the parallel to parallel the 24 groups together. They have ratchets that are all plastic covered and stuff for this kind of stuff. I wish I had that, but I don't. But I'm just doing it with what I have right now. So. Also, I like to have the wires be kind of relaxed so that they're not strained as they're being tightened, because that could help them to work loose later. And then of course I'll go through and re-torque all these and just check them all later. So I've got those done. So you just want to make sure you don't jump one to the next where you're not supposed to. So actually this one has to come back off because I've got to put another cable in there. These are already tight, so as I'm going with these, I'll put my second cable on there to go from here to here. Pretty sure, yep, that should be right. Today, this has been one long process. I've got almost 2 months just into this install. Technically a month and 3 weeks, I guess, but boy, there's not going to be much there left by the time that. Kind of wish these bolts were a little bit longer. I might have to look into that. Cinch that down a little bit, and then I'll put this on.
That flashlight's gone for forever.
What'd you do, break it?
No, it fell down in that slot.
Oh!
It's aluminum.
Yeah, we'll get it out. Okay, so this one will go this way.
I need it.
Yeah, give me a minute here, I'll help you with it. See, with this one going the other way, now this has to kind of bend more than the rest. Gosh, that's going to drive me nuts. Okay, so got this problem figured out, I think. So this bolt here is too short to get all three of those lugs on there, and the washer won't come off. So I found a longer bolt and put that on. So it should be just about right for all three of these connections here. So I'll put the...
You got any electrical tape?
Yeah. There's some there. If it's not enough, let me know.
No, here I can't really do it because my fingers are so oily.
Okay, hang on.
Maybe. We'll find out.
Here, get it started for you, or what?
I just need a piece inside of this. So I know this tape doesn't stick very well when it comes to oils.
Yeah, true. Do you need me to do something for you?
Yes, please.
Okay, hang on.
And you just...
That almost has to be kind of sticking out there because the way these are crossing over each other. Not going to all line up the same. So, incidentally, I've got my switches here both off, so that's definitely a important item. Anyway, I'll check all these again after maybe in a week or whatever. Once it gets to full power a couple of times, starts getting a little heated. So I'm gonna also check it with my, I've got one of those heat detector guns, and so I'm gonna probably check that out too eventually. So I've got these all torqued, they're all on, and that's pretty good looking setup. I don't think I had this switch in here yet last time I videotaped. So basically I've got a switch going, isolating the batteries, so I can just turn the batteries completely off before they even reach the system here. And I've got all this torqued down. I went through and torqued all this stuff down here, and so we should be in good shape. Okay, so now it's about a week later since the last part of this film, and so I'm just kind of finishing this up here, with the exception of my solar, or my combiner box, my battery combiner for charging while I'm driving. I think I'm going to use a DC to DC a smart charger instead. I'll pick up a Victron unit, take this out, probably not use it at all. That means all this is going, this fuse going, everything's going, redesigned. So that's what that is. Anyway, so I've got all my batteries jumped across here. Got that all hooked up and done. And I did get some shorter cables here. So got to put maybe a few more wire ties on. But anyway, I got these wire tied up here. This is the temperature sensor cable. It comes over and hooks up to the last positive post, and then this goes to this little monitor here, which I haven't quite figured out actually how it works yet. So the system is functioning. I've got my solar charge controllers all set up to the proper voltages and stuff. They're actually turned on and they're functioning right now, and I've got a few fuses in my panel there. Just kind of still working on that, on getting my lights going and stuff. So what I want to do is show up above here just kind of how this thing looks. Tell you the truth, I mean, again, I installed all this stuff, but I don't know how half of it works. But I will learn. So I got my little panel here. So this panel is showing that it shows you the direction of the current. So I'm getting 55 watts of power off my solar panels right now, which doesn't sound like much, except that it's more than what my AC load is here. I've got that 110 volt light's been running for several hours. Then I also have my fan running, which I installed, but I didn't have the I didn't do a video on it. The way this is here, this can come down an inch, so that way I can still put my ceiling materials in, put it back, and it'll still trim it out just fine. Anyway, but I wanted to get that thing in so I could at least kind of have something on 12 volt to test. So anyway, so the way it looks here is, it looks like 52 watts coming off the solar panels isn't much, but I've got my DeWalt oscillating tool here hooked up, and as I run it, I'm going to go ahead and run it here. It's going to get kind of loud, but So as I run that, the AC load increases, and so does the PD charger rate. So what it'll do is it'll catch up. Right now it's caught up, so it appears to, what it appears to do is the panels don't put out any more juice apparently than what you're actually using. So I turned it off now. My AC loads are back to 21 watts with that light over there, and now my PV, my panels now have dropped down to 14 watts or whatever. And anyway, so it seems to be, now it's off, looks like. Maybe it'll come back up. Yeah, it's coming back up. So now my juice is coming strictly from the batteries. But okay, so now it's back in here. Probably when you shut it off, it kind of has to bounce back. So now it's increasing. So now I'm actually putting out more solar juice than what I am loads. So the batteries are still at 100%, and now it's back up to 83 watts or whatever. And but if I increase the AC load, that wattage goes up to compensate. So again, I don't know a whole lot about this. I think that if I plug into shore power, I think that'll bring this window here up, so it'll tell me what my shore power is doing. But I've got that light running. I just ran my DeWalt tool there, and the fan's up there running, and it's all running just off my solar panels, and I'm not hooked up to shore power. So so anyway, just to kind of finish up this video, I do have some of my switches and stuff in here. These are running my furnace, my water heater, and stuff like that. And I just installed this this aluminum strip here that goes down, and I put in the LED cob light, which I have yet to hook up. It goes up into the cabinet here. I just got to connect that, and that goes all the way down. And then these diffusers here will snap in over the top of that when I'm ready. And so, but I did go ahead and pop a fuse in for my bathroom lights that I have somewhat hooked up. It's not completed yet, but I have a bathroom light here that I can actually turn it on. And the way this is going to be hooked up eventually, I've kind of been working on this here obviously, but so it's going to actually come down through a switch on the wall, then come back again, and then that'll run this light and whatever else I put in here. I'll probably have another one over on this side, or I was thinking about maybe running one of those aluminum strips down here and have a LED strip in there as well. And anyway, and of course I'll have the same thing in the shower up in that groove up there. So now I'm kind of working on my lights now that I have some power. One thing about the lights is I buy these cheap little lights or whatever. I didn't really know how much juice they were going to put out, so I wanted to have power so I could at least just hook them up, see what they're doing before I buy any more. This light here seems to be working fine. Of course at night it'd be better, you know, I'll be able to tell better at night. And so I've got a few of those installed. I bought a package of 4 for like 25 bucks or something. So it'll be interesting to see how this other LED cob light works out. But anyway, but that's what I've got going now, so I'm pretty excited about it. Got the panels completely installed. They're actually running the system, and I've got the batteries completely installed, except for fastening them down and cradling them in so they don't bounce around if I get in a wreck or something. And other than that, it's going pretty well, and so I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, everybody, and God bless. Tinkle down to the bottom. Let me know if you need any help again. Okay. A lot of interruptions. What's that?
Well, I'll figure it out.
Are you sure?
Oh, yeah.
My son's replacing his fuel injector pump on the his 2002 Dodge right now as I'm doing this, so he's kind of needing a little help on that now and then.
Oh, I heard that.
Well, I'm just saying that I'm helping you on it now and then.
What?
What? But just telling the world about you working on your truck.